and told them that instead of instructional videos this month,
Okay.
I would be putting this clinic out. Okay, so
So you do an online stick school?
yes, it's all based on Patreon and YouTube. So every month I'm putting out a series of videos on YouTube that go back and forth between instructional videos and performance arrangements, and I arrange all the songs myself. I arrange them specifically for various levels and concepts on the instrument, and then on Patreon. Patreon is a kind of a continual crowdfunding platform, and I use it as a platform to kind of run my business off. And it works as kind of a subscription school, right? So for lower tiers, you can sign up and you can get access to the arrangements, the sheet music or the tablature. You could get access to fingering guides and technique guides for the different arrangements, and you can get access to exercises for the instructional videos and like fretboard cutaways, music theory, all that kind of stuff. And then for the upper tiers, I actually offer video lessons, Skype lessons in real time for that kind of thing. And it's been going pretty well. It's been up for about a year now, and I'm starting to get some...
Are we good?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, all right, great. I will be right back.
Cool.
Okay.
I'm starting to get some students that are signing up for Skype lessons and teaching guys around the world at this point. And it's great. It's the stick itself is so rare and unique that not reaching out on the internet you're basically closing yourself off to the rest of the world.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
So how many sort of stick players out there do you know of?
That I know of?
Yeah.
A good number of them. Off the top of my head, between 1 and 200, I would think. Guys that like really you could go on YouTube and find some pretty impressive material from, and something like that. There are a bunch more. There are people that regularly visit the forums and are a part of the conversation and stuff like that. And the instrument is so young at this point that, and there are so many styles kind of coming out of the woodworks from more...
Styles of sticks?
Styles of playing it.
Oh, playing.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there are different types of sticks, or not sticks, but tap guitars, I think.
Yeah.
That'll segue me nicely. The stick sits in the family, and I believe it was one of the first of the tap guitar family, which is an offshoot of the guitar family, where you play it primarily by tapping the strings directly onto the frets. And this also includes the war guitar, made by Mark War, the harpeggi, which is more of a flat, lay it on a table kind of setup. There's the megatar. There's a bunch of different instruments, but the most popular, in my opinion, the most well built, is the stick.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So one of the things that I really wanted to demonstrate today is that, and I've written about it in this paper.
Okay.
Is that a big part of what the stick is to me is a collection of basically wisdom granted by other instruments. And one of the things that makes the stick so unique is the tuning, the fourths and fifths tuning. So on mine, I've got 5 bass notes or 5 bass strings that are coming out of this bass amp here, and then 5 guitar strings that are coming out of my guitar amp.
Oh, okay, so you use separate speakers?
I do. Some people go into a single unit. I prefer it separate. It's just how I've always done it, and it's just my personal preference. And so, I'll get my plan here. So, like I was saying, I've got 5 bass strings, 5 treble side strings, and the bass is tuned downwards in fifths. At the 12th fret, E, A, D, G, C, down in fifths, and then I have what's called matched reciprocal tuning, which goes up in fourths, E, A, D, G, C.
Oh.
Yeah, and it's really great to have this. This is what I think a big part of what makes the instrument so unique to me, because what you wind up having is the ability to make these massive chords with one hand. I've got this A, what is that, A2, I think. No, I'm sorry, this is B1. Yeah, so that's A2. And, then jumping because of the fifths tuning, jumping very high. And then at the same time, you've got the versatility of the fourths for more linear approaches, you know, scales and stuff like that. And combining the two, when you start to combine the two, since the intervals are basically a mirror of the two of themselves, every shape that you learn on this instrument is applicable on both sides in different ways. So if I'm playing, you know, like a classic pentatonic shape, it's the exact same shape, and because of the fifths tuning, the octaves are flipped over, so you have to take that into account. But it's still the same shape, it's just a different context. So one of the things that the shape lends itself to, or the tuning lends itself to rather, is hand percussion really well, and drum set, and kind of looking through the lens of a drummer or a percussionist. And right off the bat, you've got stuff like you know, drummer rudiments, the foundations of drums, right, as the rudiments, and something like a paradiddle. I think that's like right, left, right, left, left, right, left, right. Yeah, that's that. So you take a paradiddle and you separate it between your hands, you wind up with a very effective groove. Something like that.
Yeah.
Or you could also separate them out, rather than between the hands, between the extreme ranges of the left hand to give yourself a groove to improvise over. Something like that.
Yeah.
Further, you could take common kick and snare patterns right off of drum set and make a groove out of them. And then when you add your left hand, I'm sorry, your right hand.
Sorry, I don't know mine either.
Thank you. I'm glad. When you add your right hand as an accent point, you could add it as chordal accents that could work as cymbals, if you want to think of it that way. You could add it as a melodic point, or you could set this to kind of an autopilot, which I'll get into in a little bit, and improvise over it. Thank you.
Thank
See, there's
you.
nothing to
Simplicity itself.
So I want to reiterate, everything except for the last song that I'm going to play tonight is something that I've arranged specifically for my students.
Okay.
And everything is tackling a certain concept, again, or a certain technique, and is designed for a specific skill level. This one, as I had led up to it, is attacking the concept of kind of peering through the lens of a drum set, and also autopilot, which I had mentioned before. Autopilot is, I think you see it in piano and you see it in drums a little bit, but it's a very stick-centric concept where you kind of have 100% of your focus, right, and two hands to divide them between. And so what you want to do is you want to work up certain grooves or certain patterns in one hand so that you can actually get it to a point where it's all muscle memory and you can take away focus to focus more on the other hand and do improvising or melodies or give inflections, stuff like that. Yeah. So this was a thing specifically designed to deal with autopilot. The stick also covers guitar and bass really well. In fact, again, in my paper, I talk about it as an evolution of the guitar and the bass. And it's kind of you can kind of look at it and say, oh yeah, that makes sense. Because it's got frets, it's got low strings, it's got higher strings. So clearly, it's in a similar language, musical language. But it goes a little bit deeper than that, I think. In the kind of things, the way that guitar and bass lend themselves to this instrument.